She hasn't seen it before. When I was a young guy working in Syracuse, I handled this kind of stuff. None of this is rocket science. The numbers were much different. I traded in the futures market back in 1984. I traded T-bills. I've seen how it works, and you'll see by this. And by contracts, these larger municipalities are playing in this game. It's a hybrid. We're a small municipality. These large accounting firms, we won't get the service we'll get off of Mr. Beckett. He's a two-man firm. He's got his fingers on everything. I guess I'm asking for your approval of this agreement with Mr. Beckett. My vision for our banking, I gave you all your packets early so you could read it. This is basically where I'm going, and this is basically what I told Mrs. Dunn she has to do, and it's what I will be showing Mr. Beckett. Mr. Beckett does not have this information yet because I'm not willing to give him anything until I have your permission for you to enter into a contract with him. This is taxpayers' money, and this also is our first step as a board in answering this audit from the state. All right?
Is Mrs. Dunn okay with this?
Oh, she's anxious to do it because she knows she'll get other work from other municipalities.
Well, I know that, but I mean, she likes the shape of this okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mrs. Dunn and Mr. Beckett have worked together before.
Oh,
I mean, all these people I'm bringing together, they're either people that I'm familiar with, have done business with for 40 years, or they know one another.
I don't know the answer to this, but do you know of other municipalities that outside the state structure engage a private accountant?
There is room for it in the law manual. I'm not doing anything that's, you know, I've lived with that law manual for about 2 months now. I'm not saying I know it all, but every time I have a question, I go to the book and do the best I can with it.
Yeah,
Now,
I confess I haven't read it very
if
closely.
I started out by going to our town attorney for every question I had, I'd be living there. This thing, Phil's got to put his signature on it and say, yep, this is okay. And another stopgap that I have here, the way I woke these banks up is to take a check and put it in front of them with the paperwork that I had and tell them, I want to deposit $250,000. And you know what these FDIC insured banks do when someone does that? 2 years ago, Chase Manhattan Bank was fined $2.5 billion by Mr. Como. And his picture was on the front page of the Gazette the other day. He needs more money. They're scared to death. They won't do anything with any municipality until they check with their people to do nothing but municipal business. You'll notice all three of these banks, they have local branches, but I can't do business with the local branches. They're all down in Albany. They all want a piece of that state money. So whatever I want to do anything, I got to talk to their people or email them or fax them back and forth.
In managing the carousel sort of investment that's going to be going on, would Mr. Beckett do that? Because you're moving in and out monthly, right?
You are going to receive a letter of instruction as a board member. And every month, when I give you these papers on the budget, you're going to have another paper with our investment portfolio on it, and you will understand it.
Well, I know, but I mean, would you be doing because apparently there's a lot of moving money in or renegotiating monthly, would you be doing that or would Mr. Beckett be doing it?
You will. If you set the timeline up right, we meet the 4th Wednesday of every month. If we make the investment moves the 1st of the month, we can roll $100,000 CDs, 12 of them. So we have one CD coming due every month. That will support our cash flow as a town. That's very, very important to me. We have to have the money available when we need it to spend. And I'm not sure at all of the totals that I have. That's my vision. Now, the first thing we have to do to start this, Mr. Beckett has to be given remote access to our accounts, so I'm not paying him to drive back and forth. And he has to give me a complete cash flow analysis for the last 2 years, and then we'll try to project that, and then we'll know what we can do every month. Until then, we gotta step pretty careful.
Slight digression, Bill, where do you think the 350,000 differential lies? Because I have no idea.
There were some motions made that the bookkeeper doesn't know how to perform, and that I feel might be illegal. And I have to have some help. I either gotta call Association of Towns, or I gotta have Mr. Beckett answer some questions for me. I'm way past thinking anybody stole any money here, all right? I think we've all been above board. And going on that premise, there is some things that have been done that maybe shouldn't have been done. The budget for 2017, we have resolutions and we have the budget, and the two are not matching. And rather than, well, I asked some questions of the bookkeeper, and she is competent and honest as the day is long, and she's been around it a long time. But I asked her to do some things. She says, well, I've never done that before. I said, whoa, wait a minute. If you've never done that before, and you've been doing this for a lot of years, I'm just gonna wait until I'm sure of what I'm doing. And the numbers in my head don't add up. Now, roughly $1 million budget, you applied $250,000 of surplus, so that changed the amount of money coming in by tax and the amount of money spending. They're dramatically apart, 25%. So when we start putting together a budget for next year, we're 25% in the hole already, all right? We have to adjust. Now, you started a $500,000 capital account. I think that's illegal. I'm not sure. That's the way I read the manual. I think your maximum there should have been 100. Now, if I can pull that out, see, once that capital account is set up, I can't use that for tax reduction. That has to be used on this, all right? So if I can get that changed and perhaps take some of that money to put towards tax reduction, I can make this transition from this overdone budget somewhat smooth for the taxpayers. But I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. I've got to have some professional help, or I'm going to struggle with this for 4 or 5 years. With some professional help, next year I should be able to set a tax rate that's somewhat near spending. But I don't know that. I can't. I'm used to business accounting. This government accounting, I mean, if it's appropriated, well, maybe it's on there. If it's cash, well, maybe that isn't cash. I mean, I'm just not used to all this stuff. And I got to go a little slow. And I learned a long time ago, know how much money you have, know how much you got coming in, and know how much you're spending. And I haven't got them questions all answered yet. So, to my way of thinking, a professional accountant that knows the score, has been around this stuff his entire career, I'll take $5,000 worth of guidance. I'm a player. It's either that or you're playing with taxpayers' money and not being sure what you're doing. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable sitting here today. I wasn't at the organizational meeting. You know, I know what I have to do. So if somebody would make a motion to accept this contract with Mr. Beckett, I'd be a happy camper.
I'll make that motion, we accept that contract.
I'll second
Do
it.
we have a second?
I like the idea of, like you said, $5,000 worth of guidance.
Not only that,
That's cheap guidance.
he's the investment policy. He's the key to
Yeah.
that. He lives there.
Plus, we're gonna come in compliant with the comptrollers.
Well, that's one of the last papers in my file there. You'll see where I drafted a letter. Yeah, where is it? you know, I'm not afraid to write letters. I mean, Mrs. Dunn thought that she should write a letter to the comptroller. I said, well, he pulls his pants on the same way I do. Don't scare me. Yeah, Jeffrey Leonard, Examiner. Here's a copy of my letter to the state controller. I don't look for any trouble there. He isn't gonna be putting me in jail. I haven't done anything illegal. So let's go, right? We'll play. And by the way, when I went to that school down in Albany, I didn't have any trouble with those guys at all. And my investment policy is nothing like I have seen in this area. And I like to be conservative. So I took the papers that I had already had prepared and stuck it under one of the guy's noses that taught the class. And I says, what do you think? He says, you know, nobody's shopping money now. It's been quite a few years. Interest rates have been about zero. And man, is that segment of banking waking up. So I know we're going to be successful. And as interest rates go up, the bank isn't going to enjoy getting any more money from the town of Palatine. The town of Palatine is going to have an increase in investment every time the interest rate ticks up. And we can't lose. Unless the interest rates go back down, then we'll just fold. We won't play anymore. And the other thing is, if we spend the surplus rather than get the investment income, then we won't have the money to invest. And I'm not sure exactly what we should do there. Whether, you know, we're a real small municipality. We're one of the smallest. And here we sit with an investment portfolio to worry about. I don't know how many people have asked me if, wow, are you going to put a nice, beautiful building up now? I mean, no. I don't see it in our future. We've got to talk about that too. There's a lot of building things going on here that I want to talk about. But let's get this out of the way. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion on this investment policy?
I have a few things that I may. Couple of things. Bill, I like your ideas here. I think they are forward-thinking. I would feel like we're getting a little bit of the cart before the horse here, though, because the first thing I think we need to do is we need to take your investment policy here, write it down from soup to nuts, and adopt it as we have previous investment policies. We reaffirm them every couple of years, okay? Once we reaffirm that, that gives you the leverage to go ahead and start making inquiries. I think we're trying to make the inquiries before the town. Two things we didn't adopt yet or reaffirm at this point is the investment policy and our procurement policy, which, so let me keep my train of thought. I believe that we need to write this investment policy down from soup to nuts, just like they did the 99 investment policy, explaining what the objectives were, where we're going, what we want to do. I don't believe this is anywhere as thorough as it should be, but at least they have it. Okay, I believe we should do that. The second thing is, I'm not diametrically opposed to having a CPA. I have some questions, but we can't adopt this because we're over our procurement policy as a lump sum aggregate. Our procurement policy only allows us to contract for $2,499 without getting, then we must solicit for hourly rates and bids and on comparable goods and services. So what I see here is an hourly rate against the total lump sum of $5,000. If we had that, maybe I could say, okay, we can approve the first $24.99, or we have to readopt the procurement policy to move the level up, and then we wouldn't have to get any conflicts. We're in conflict here, and I do not like us to be not past conflict. You get what I'm saying? Because we just think if we something on the road against that we have, but it currently can't road, that's not good. Yet it doesn't mean we can policy. next meeting, new procurement revisit together and pass it by the same thing. With it, is it this? Policy, pass this at time. Investment policy. For proceeding, I'm all on that. The way we should have some proceeding. I do audit questions about to do with all of us, how we're going to access and what we're going to, Mr. Ben, will have access to. So, back at one, I'm worried about also recommending that on banks out a little bit in your law 8 suite of 30 is that municipal that in section that said that it says that supervisor that the town supervisor did not have any supervisor interest can any bank invest in they define as where is our counting in investment and what or loan interest counts in.
You regret a little, Chris.
But it said
You should have owned it for 2% of the stock and keep more than
I'm just
the stock.
no, I'm just need to just make a minute or I'm just saying not violating we make sure municipal law and that we're not expected also meaning is that municipal and we could get this here with the FW board, I'm sure is clear. It's easy to make sure.
That's not what ethics board is, but that's okay.
Sure.
I will at the end of your question for it.
Conflict for well, no conflict. So
Well, my kind is a little low when you walk. You put two items on the table that I would like to address, and then I should talk some more.
that's right. I'm just trying to make sure we can get this done properly.
Or would you like to write the investment policy for where we're headed?
Sure. We have to get together. I want to make sure that no, we have to get together. I want to make sure that I don't write something that you don't agree with. So
I can't do it. I can't do it. That's I told Mrs. Dunn to go ahead and do it. She
Okay.
is writing us a new assessment policy.
Okay, well there we go.
Which, if you read the letter that I sent to you, that is going to the State Department, the State Department is going to okay our investment policy before I start. Did you read this?
I did read it, but we need to okay it before we can send it to the. There's procedure. We need to have it here. We need to pass it. Then we send it out.
Did I say we're not doing that?
Okay, well,
Okay.
it sounds like we're making a motion to do something as part of the investment policy we haven't passed yet.
No. Don't. Mr. Beckett is going to help us clear this audit. All right? Now, your other question.
Yes.
This says investment policy. I put it right in that packet. Adopted May 5th, 1999. Do you see anything in that investment policy that says anything about procurement?
No, there's a procurement. We have a procurement policy.
You have a procurement policy
Yes.
that was passed that tried to amend this investment policy. Are you aware of the fact that procurement and investment are two different policies doing two different things? Investment involves investing money you already own. Procurement is buying something you would like to have.
I understand.
Two entirely different things. Now, what is your question about the investment policy in particular?
I
Be
didn't have a
concise.
question. I said we should, before we make any moves, we should adopt an investment policy. That's what I said. And then I said, as opposed to this motion, that our current procurement policy, which we have, says that in cases where we spend more than $2,499, we need to get
What does the law say, Chris? You know, we can, in fact, we should get rid of that antiquated procurement policy that is illegal.
well, if you think it's illegal, it's been enacted here for years and years and years. So you can make a motion to get rid of it, but currently it's on the books. So this violates that policy.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept this contract with Mr. Becker?
Sean,
I made the motion.
Sean
Okay,
made a
a
motion,
second.
Betty seconded.
Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Carried. Okay, whereas it is necessary to increase the appropriation as discussed to hire an audit firm, whereas the auditing firm to be hired is Philip Beckett. Whereas the supervisor's office is hereby authorized and directed to amend the 2018 operating budget as follows. You know, we can't really hire him until we amend the budget because there isn't a budget item for it. Do I have a motion for that one?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Please put me down.
And put you down as opposed.
Thank you, Linda.
Whereas the Heirs Memorial Animal Shelter Inc. wishes to renew its contract with the town of Palatine, and the town of Palatine wishes to contract under section 115 and 16 of the Ag and Market Law with them. Be it resolved that the town of Palatine accept the contract as presented and pay for the services. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a second?
Second.
That's actually a resolution, so I said I'll make the resolution.
Resolution number what?
40.
40.
All those in favor?
Who seconded?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Whereas it is necessary to increase the appropriation as discussed to replace the current roof on the building at the town hall, whereas the supervisor's office is hereby authorized and directed to amend the 2018 operating budget as follows. I should say something here to introduce this. Last year, some people came to a board meeting here, and they had grants available. This building needs some work. Those people were turned around. There's 3 other municipalities in this area that are now doing work under grants. We need a roof. This is not contracting or buying a roof. This is putting money in the 2018 budget in a line item so that we can accept the grant. All right, we can't spend money or contract for money that is not in the budget. So we have to create a budget item.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, in other words, you're saying it's a matching grant then?
No, what I'm after, we have to spend the money to put a roof on, and then they reimburse us.
Okay, okay, yeah, so it's like a matching grant then?
And I haven't got it okayed, but I don't want to even talk to those people unless I'm capable of
So you
performing.
have the money there to start?
And that's the only reason I'm doing this. This is not spending $35,000. Again, the board does the contracting. I want to get these people in and see what we can do.
I've heard that might be as low as 18, is that the case?
This is wild. This is a wild guess on my part.
Yeah.
That's all this is. And the other thing is, a roof at 18, you're probably right. But I don't want to just do a roof. I want an R26, R28 or so in the roof, in insulation. And that goes down before the roof goes down. That's what I'm after. I want to button this place up. I want to get it so it's reasonable to heat. Long term, I think this town can live in this building and do very well. The state is after these judges to consolidate the housing. And Mr. Geiger is on board. And without the court in this building, there's more than enough room for this town to operate. Renovation is a lot cheaper than building, and $500,000 in that capital account. I don't see us going through that at all. I want to have a work session with this board with regard to this building and what I feel that we should be doing. I'll tell you ahead of time, we'll cause some controversy probably, but I want to move the town offices out of this building, renovate this building as one great big open courtroom. There's all kinds of grants available for courtrooms right now, but I can't find much for town offices. If we move right out of here, run a storefront or something for a while, renovate this as a courtroom, and within 3 or 4 years, the state's going to insist that we all go into this consolidated court system. So there's no reason for the town of Palatine to spend a lot of money on a building. I think we can do much better. But there's a lot of loose ends, and there should be a lot of ideas around this table. It's not, my efforts with the building will not be like my efforts with the banking. With the banking, I didn't look for any help. Something to do with the building and renovation, and whether we should indeed move the offices or not, it is going to require a lot of thought and a lot of